ריבונו של עולם! אותי נקמה!
נגמור אותי לפינוי, זה הכי.
Well, hello, that's me again. Today is June 20th, 2025. It is Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Congratulations to everybody who really works and puts an effort. So, and pardon me, let's start with something which is, as you saw in the beginning, we are looking at Iran turning Israel into Gaza 2.0. And we will discuss this, but there are a number of the events actually which are extremely important. And when we talk about this Iran-Israel situation, and many people, and I mean not many, I mean pretty much majority of the people who come, for example, to my blog, majority but not all, obviously, they begin to ask those questions which obviously disclose or manifest usually a little bit of the misunderstanding of international relations, which I constantly for years, and actually many years, more than a decade, continue to insist that international relations is not some kind of the wishy-washy game, you know, that, oh yeah, I want to do this, let's do it. No, it doesn't work like this. And I want to get to the piece by our wonderful good friend Larry Johnson, and he wrote about, we'll talk about Mr. Trump and all that, but look what he wrote yesterday, which not only I subscribe, but I was pressing this point for many years. And here are the people who are absolutely correctly understand the situation, and nobody would ever doubt that Mr. Alistair Crook, one of the most outstanding British gentlemen, it's like the, you know what, one of the last, you know, of the Mohicans, so to speak, of the British, almost aristocratic, real aristocratic outlook in him. He says this, and here's what Larry writes about, obviously things he knows really well about the conflict between Radcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard, and the fact how Donald Trump behaves himself like a man-child, which he actually is. And so he writes, Vladimir Putin made some news on Wednesday while speaking to a group of foreign officials in Moscow, when he explained that Russia had offered to sign a defense pact with Iran, but Iran declined to do so. According to Alistair Crook, President Pezeshkian still held out hopes for improved relations with the West and believed that signing such an agreement would antagonize Washington. He now realizes he was foolishly naive. Well, too late now. Putin has made it clear that it is prepared to help Iran defend itself by providing air defense systems. And so, well, it's not, actually, Larry is not mistaken. He is correct that Russia provided S-400 systems, but those S-400 systems are guarding the only one object. It is the Bushehr nuclear power station, which also has a significant share of Russian specialists working there. So Larry is not mistaken here, but those S-400 are specifically for defense of the Bushehr nuclear power station, and but the point of this whole thing is what I'm speaking constantly. Some people think that, oh yeah, BRICS, oh yeah, they negotiated something and settled. No, especially in the case with Iran, by the way, which all obviously remembers how Soviet Union and Great Britain took it, well, granted that Pahlavi family was very much Nazi supporters, so British and Soviets, they just basically took the Iran, secured one of the critical routes for Lend-Lease, and so Iranians remember this. They also have a very bad experience with MI6 and CIA during the famous removal of Mossadegh, Prime Minister of Iran, which essentially, I mean, they didn't even hide this, United States and Great Britain, that they did it. So they have a very bad experience with going any kind of the military blocs or military alliances, or for that matter, any kind of alliances at all. And Iran was always always very kind of squeamish when going into some kind of making some kind of the geopolitical commitments. I can tell you one thing: when Russian bombers needed to stop in Iran during Syrian campaign and refuel or do whatever they needed to do there was a lot of issues with Iranian parliament. And so the president of Iran, he is no exception. He is a representative. He actually rides high, or rather rode high, on this wave of the Iranian urban liberals and pro-Western circles who dream about what? They dream about whatever perceived liberties, which are not really liberties anymore in the West. They want their access to their consumer patterns of the West, which they also absolutely wrongly interpret that they exist for everybody, while in reality Europe especially becomes a pauper, and it will become very poor. But that's what we have, and that is why I repeat ad nauseam that with Iran, while Russia supports Iran, Russia signed a strategic partnership in terms of economics with Iran. Iran is not doing this, not only because obviously Iran is squeamish about entering any kind of military alliances, but also, as correctly stated by Alistair Crook and by many other observers, that they just want their, Western vector, so to speak, to develop without understanding that they are not welcome in the West. And I'll give you an example. A few years back, when actually it was on the Obama watch, you will correct me if I'm wrong. If you remember this, Iran had actually sanctions lifted from it for a very short period of time, like literally a few weeks. Guess what they did? They immediately channeled all their economic activity away from Russia and from all those offers ranging from commercial aviation to what have you, defense, and they ran to Europeans. Evidently, they didn't learn. So, and this is what actually the case here. So it's too late now, but Russians obviously say that, yeah, we will provide humanitarian aid and all this, early warning, wink, wink, things. But other than that, it's Iran's choice. And you cannot make them do and behave as Russia wants or Russia would love them to do in any kind of the military or economic field. They are independent country with an ancient culture, huge, 100 million almost population, and they are proud people and they have their own issues. Obviously, we know now that all this pro-Western urban liberal intelligentsia, which drives those things, has now an egg on their faces. Not the first time and probably not the last time, because those people are not very bright, let's put it this way. And here we are, we have the situation. While at it, I would suggest you to go to Dmitry Orlov's excellent Boosty channel and read a very good piece he wrote yesterday, actually. It should be up today for many people who have access to his blog. And this is precisely about Israel and Iran going at it. And that brings us to the other thing, which is, of course, very important when we talk about the situation with the Iran and Israel. And how to put it politely, it's tied to what we have been talking about many times, and I am on the record. I wrote a number of books. By the way, for those who do not know, my the America's Final War have been translated to German, and it went on sale by Lola Books in Germany now. And so I would suggest you to go to Lola Books and buy it. And also the Spanish language version is also in works and will come out pretty soon. So just for you to know. And I wrote in my America's Final War about the situation that essentially we have the people in Congress, which are American representatives and senators, who are completely under the spell and under control of Israel, majority of them, not all, but majority of them. And that is why United States is now a hostage to Israeli politics. But it is not only that fact. This is the fact of they're utterly incompetent in anything. In history, in military affairs, even American generals, they are morons, most of them. They are incompetent. They don't know what real war is. And so those people those, including those veterans. Make no mistake. When you look at Tim Cotton, for example, Neocon, I mean, the guy, he was a hero in Afghanistan. Okay, that's fine. The problem, he's a lawyer by education, and I am on record. You cannot prepare a real cadre officer in ROTC, period. You just can't. And those people who go through this system as of lately, in the last 15 or 20 years or so, they are not getting real military education, real military skills. The maximum they get, there's some tactical, minutia, and that's about it. It's the same as trying to prepare out of the Bachelor of Sociology in so-called academy in Sandhurst, which is vocational school, in 44 weeks, and pretend that you can prepare a serious officer. You can't. And we see it across the board. But now we're going to our dear friend Tucker Carlson. And look at this. I mean, I strongly suggest you to watch this interview with with the Senator Ted Cruz. The guy had even presidential ambitions, and everybody talks about how, oh my God, he was this lawyer of this, and he's a lawyer, actually. But you watch this whole interview, and Tucker literally wipes the floor with this moron. This is the guy who is considered to be brilliant, actually. And the guy is a complete cretin. I mean, he is uneducated, and he has no clue about anything. And so here is one of the snippets about from his interview that king of fakery, the same Senator Ted Cruz who tries to revise the Bible to pretend that Israel is in Genesis, says he hates communists because his father was tortured by the US-backed anti-communist dictator Fulgencio Batista in pre-revolution Cuba. So the guy lies straight into your face. So I don't know how the Batista, who was indeed rabid anti-communist, and he was, I mean, essentially America's SOB, how he could torture his father unless his father was a communist. But obviously Ted Cruz says that his father was not communist, and they are anti-communist family. That's fine. You are free to believe whatever you want. The problem, of course, this is one of the leading guys. He has no clue about anything. The only thing he knows, as does most of the American elected officials, most, not all, and, well, probably the top brass, is how to stay elected or promoted, period. This is the only thing. They have no clue about anything, and as the result, we have now a situation that, well, Mr. Trump, who obviously is completely excluded from the realities on the ground, is now, for some reason, went for his classic 2 weeks. And I pointed out that his vernacular in terms of adjectives is usually 3 words: beautiful, wonderful, and good. But in terms of times, basically periods, so to speak, he measured things like in 2 weeks for some reason. Everything is 2 weeks. And suddenly we have that, information that he's taking 2 weeks to decide if he should attack Iran. He probably will, because Mr. Trump, as it turned out to be, he's in the service of Israel, and many people actually applauded me, say, oh my God, you were right that he is the vice president of Israel. He is, and he is evidently absolutely, clueless about anything, and the only thing he has is senses. His senses, and probably some people told him, you go into Iran, well, he already finished off his presidency, but I don't know how else to explain the situation when the country such as the United States is being again ran into the ground by the man-child and people he surrounded himself, who evidently now, as we see that Tulsi Gabbard and Mr. Ratcliffe of CIA are at odds with their assessments. And Mr. Ratcliffe, obviously, you know what, as Larry Johnson correctly states, he peddles this thing, the fairy tale, yet another fairy tale, to Mr. Trump, and this is all being sycophant. They just suck up to the guy who, not very bright, he doesn't think rationally. He has only intuition or feelings or sentiments, but evidently he doesn't understand that he already did away with his presidency because he behaves himself as the narcissistic teenager, which he essentially is. And so we have now this period of 2 weeks for which Iran will be preparing, evidently for United States probably trying to do something bad. And it might all end up like this famous Ivanka Trump, tantrum strike at Syria 2018, when he launched 109 missiles. Syrians intercepted 78 of them. But he still, launched this, say, yeah, you see, we defeated them, to turn around and declare the victory. That's what United States does, because it has no resources to fight even the serious sustained air war against Iran, if it comes down to it. And so we have this very interesting situation, and if you consider what I stated to you, quoting Larry Johnson and Alistair Crook about Iran, so put together this picture and you can see yourself a whole mayhem happening there, and Russians and Chinese look at this and like, good Lord, man, I mean, this is, complete mess. But in the conclusion of that, we have to keep in mind that something happened of which I warned many times. Israel have been utterly humiliated, and you can see yourself from every single angle which comes to us through all kinds of people on the ground, Israelis running around, trying to hide and away from the destruction which was wrought on Israel by Iranians. And again, make no mistake, many people still do not understand. While Iran definitely has an advanced missile program, it's still not the real missile program which can measure up, for example, to Russian missile program. But yes, Iranians are definitely not Houthis. They have capability, and they will use it, and they continue to use it, and they will use it to a devastating effect if United States decides to, do the dirty job for Israel, which it usually does. And so we have this situation, and this was reflected actually by Mr. Putin at SPIF, St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and he was talking about the number of issues. For example, that he says that the conflict potential in the world is extremely high, and he said, I'm afraid of the World War III, which will go nuclear. It's absolutely natural. And then he stated the thing which is many people, for some reason, I don't know why many people go bananas about it, but he stated just that. Look at this. Russia is not seeking Ukraine's surrender. Putin. He said, we are not seeking the surrender of Ukraine. We insist on the recognition of the realities that have developed on the ground. Putin said, noting that Ukraine conflict was completely different, which is absolutely correct, from the ongoing escalation in the Middle East. Many people say, what does he mean by saying that we don't seek a Ukrainian surrender, but only recognition of the realities on the ground? Well, just to give you recognition of the realities on the ground, here's Mr. Putin, so to speak, continuing developing his thought. Putin did not rule out taking control of the city of Sumy in northern Ukraine. And he said, we do not have such a task to take Sumy, but in principle, I do not rule it out, as task quoted Putin as saying about the city of Sumy, which most likely will be taken. And you say, what the hell is he talking about? Very simple. Of what everybody who had any clue about the special military operation from the get-go were repeating ad nauseam, non-stop. Russians do not want to rule over Ukraine. They want Ukraine absolutely pacified, absolutely demilitarized, denazified, and deindustrialized. So it will remain the now agricultural country primarily. And why would Russians want those 20 million people who hate Russian gods on its own balance? I don't know how you can explain this, but that's what it is. That is why Russians are a little bit, can Russia go now and take Kharkov, for example? Yes, she can. But Russians would rather have the friendly government in Ukraine. In the government which will be controlled by Russians, while Europeans will be paying for restoring or rebuilding whatever was actually destroyed because of the United States and Europeans, who used what the best proxy they ever had, apart from Hitler and Axis forces, in history to attack Russia. Well, there you go. That's the realities. And Putin continues, obviously, on spiff that when he asked about, obviously, big honchos, Russia and China. And he absolutely states what, remember, I was talking about arrangement phase. This is what formalization phase. He says that Russia and China are not forming a new world order. We are only formalizing it. And he explains that we are not busy creating a new world order. We are clearing the way for this process. Russian President Vladimir Putin said at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. And you may ask, what is the clearing? Well, new world order, this new world, this multi-polar world, and the decline and annihilation of the 500 years of the Western domination of the human civilization is over. But it was the process which was ongoing for many years and in fact decades. Again, keep in mind the 20th century and the biggest achievement of the Western civilization. 2 world wars, that is the biggest achievement. No, not this advancement, some of which are totally admirable in medicine and science and culture. No. We're talking about the real achievement, quote unquote, when they killed altogether more than 70 million people and brought about industrial level annihilation, atrocity. And that's what happened. And the price, what is being paid now, and this was the process which was slow. It is tectonic. Now it's simply accelerated, and Russians defeated actually the combined West in Ukraine, and as already stated, it is a formalization stage, it's arrangement stage. Russians do not need to have this bunch of people, on their economic balance and suddenly bring their standard of living to Russian standard of living, which is actually pretty darn high. And when you look at that, it's just, what are we going to do with this? Well, nothing. The West has been defeated. And even Iran, wiping the floor with Israel and humiliating outright the so-called Western air defense and anti-missile defense, they did what, Russia did, but on a smaller scale, by beating the, pardon my French, crap out of the West's main SOB in the area, which is in Levant, which is Israel. Israel is the Western creation, obviously with the support and lobbying of the many Jewish and Zionist groups. But British are always the guys who create mayhem and kill people and think that it will not touch them. Oh my God, it did. It affected them, and you see yourself now, the United Kingdom being nothing more than, I don't even know what the size of the economy. It's somewhere at the bottom of the top 20, if that. And they wanted it, they got it. So do I feel sympathy to them? As I already stated, I'm not cold-hearted, cynic. I understand the plight of people. And being Western man myself, essentially, as most Russians are actually by definition, I feel sorry for many people. But political elites, they are totally degenerate, they are decomposing, and they are incapable of running anything, even the public toilet. But you know what can I say? That's who they are, and that's what Western people are elected, essentially. So, and this is not just that thing. And if we go further and take a look at what is transpiring now, suddenly we have, oh my God, Le Monde. Le Monde is actually mondialist, what is called a globalist newspaper in France. So it took French 38 months to notice, oh my God, there are Nazi symbols prevalent in Ukrainian military. They write about, hello. I don't know what stone they've been sleeping under, but Ukrainian soldiers continue to publicly display neo-Nazi symbols, including swastikas, SS tattoos, and Nazi salutes, according to an investigation by French outlet Le Monde. Really, there's no need to investigate anything. They were posting and continue to post this with pride. They are Nazis, and regime is Nazi regime. French support Nazis, period. And they can go and shove their investigation up there, basically behinds of all those European media who are war criminals, most of them are low-life scumbags. And so now suddenly they write about this. Well, so they talk about that nearly 350 Ukrainian troops posting neo-Nazi imagery online, including Nazi salutes, swastika, and tattoos. Many of them, for example, at least 200 of those identified, serve in Kiev 3rd Assault Brigade. Well, yeah, it's pretty much all over the place. And when these cretins talk about some kind of investigation, yeah, I scratch my head because I don't know what kind of investigation they have to do it when it was in the open for the last 38 months. In fact, it's earlier than that. United States and Europe, a combined West, with France leading the charge in the European side. And of course, Germans, probably out of tradition, they support Nazi regime in Kiev. Live with that. And that is why, for example, Maria Zakharova reaction on some scumbag from RAI, Italian media holding, who suggested that, oh God, we need just only one missile to hit St. Petersburg International Economic Forum because Putin and other people are there. That tells you everything who they are. They are human trash. Of course, the scumbag deleted his tweet or whatever the hell the name of this social media, but Zakharova and Russian Foreign Minister already reacted. But I have immediately people from, Italy, for example, and I know many Italians have, wish no ill to Russians, but I mean, this is the norm for the Western societies. And norms are formed not only by hoi polloi, so to speak, who continue to elect these scumbags, but also by this fourth estate, this media class of the Western media class, who hate Russian gods. They do, all of them. Some exceptions merely basically confirm the rule. And the fact that, yeah, they suggest to, bomb and launch missile at Putin at the International Economic Forum there, well, that tells you everything you need to know. That's who they are. They are all Ted Cruzes. They are all these scumbags. They are all those people, including top brass from NATO, who are clueless. And they are malignant, malignantly vile people. And so how can I describe it more? How about I use the Trump's adjectives? They are bad. And that's what I can tell you on this issue. And before we go today, so I want to point out to situation of the United States evidently still gets the whiff of what is going on. Newsweek reports that U.S. pushing allies to limit focus on Ukraine in NATO summit communique, which is coming next week. So, yeah, it doesn't matter that they limit or not. It's over, and it doesn't matter what they try. It doesn't matter what kind of the numbers they create and pull out of their asses to pretend that they somehow can support whatever will be left of Ukraine. It's all for naught. And United States, again, Trump could have stopped the war. He didn't. It's his war now, and it doesn't matter how he arranged those forms. He lost it. His country lost it, the United States. The United States, why I say his? Because the United States is my country too. No, his country is the one which exists in the alternative universe in which he believes that he lives in, which obviously has no relation to the reality. And so they will be using less Ukraine during the NATO summit because obviously they are also afraid that Trump may simply walk out. NATO is a paper tiger militarily, and the United States is. And so now with all those events unfolding in front of our eyes, what can I say? It was inevitable. It's actually the result of the systemic crisis of the postmodernist society of the West, and it continues. And as Vladimir Putin correctly stated, Russia and China merely, clear the road for the processes, natural processes to take place. They will develop. You can forecast them. That's what I do, for example. I'm not sitting with a crystal ball saying that, oh yeah, the special military operation will end on the, let's say, August 30th of 2025. No, I don't do that thing. It's for those political science majors to do this garbage. But I definitely can say that, oh, this is the process which will develop in such and such general direction. And actually, as many people have been already informed by Vladimir Putin today, Russians do not need a Ukrainian surrender. They need the change of the regime in Kiev, and after that we can talk. That's what the Russian position was from the get-go. But yeah, meanwhile, Russians continue to do what they are doing the best of all. They continue annihilate the best NATO proxy, which whoever existed. So as you can see yourself today, we have, yeah, it's just basically each day the size of the brigade force is wiped off the order of battle in Ukraine, and the movement to the west continues, but Russians are not in rush. As you can see yourself, this is our good friend Marat Khairuling. This is the disposition for yesterday, as you can see yourself, and the front is very active, and as I predicted, and this is becoming very clear, that Russians are not going to be fighting in Pokrovsk. They are surrounding it. If you take a look attentively at how it is surrounded, they will allow the remnants of the garrison try to escape, and they will be killed during escape, and then Pokrovsk will fall on its own. So this is the situation, and what can I say? It's just the crazy world we live in, and how to say it? I mean, I'm trying to do my best to give people some understanding of what is going on, and that will be it for today, guys. And as always, in the end, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel, and those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee too. That will allow me to stay in the business of what I'm doing now. So that will be it for today. Have a nice weekend, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.